Welcome to the Leverage Show. This is Brett. Do you know exactly what it is that your customers want? I mean, if you're creating products and services, one of the most frustrating and one of the most challenging and scary parts of developing a new product or new service offering is knowing how your customers are going to feel about it. Is it something that they really want? Particularly, this is important if you're talking about something that's going to cost you a lot of money or a lot of time in terms of an investment to roll it out. I mean, the fact of the matter is, nobody wants to spend a bunch of money or a bunch of time to try to roll something out only to find out that nobody really wants it. It's a really scary place to be. I launch a lot of products in my business, and so I'm more on the product side than the service side. But I can say that every time I go to launch a new product, the way that it used to be for me is I was always nervous about how the market was going to feel about it. I always felt like, I put all this work and effort into it. But as the marketing guru Jay Abraham once said, a lot of business owners make the mistake of falling in love with their product instead of falling in love with their customer. And that's a really dangerous thing to do because I've seen terrible situations where people have created products that they thought were going to absolutely crush it. They just loved it and they spent so much time and so much money. And not only did they waste all of that, but they also had to give up the opportunity to create something else that their customers would have really wanted. So they go to market with it, they go to launch it, and what happens, it doesn't really sell. They barely, if that, make back the money that they spent on it, let alone any profit. And obviously, you can't run a business long term if that's the kind of dynamics that you're getting in terms of your financials. So it begs the question, how do you know exactly what your customers want? I mean, wouldn't that put you in a stronger position of knowing that when you create a product, you already know the demand is there. You already know that your customers are going to be lining up. They're going to be willing to pay whatever you're asking for it. And all of the aspects of the launch are going to work, because the scary part about it is, and the frustrating part about it is, there are so many things that go into your offer beyond just the service or product itself. I mean, you have whatever the terms that you have in terms of the price and the guarantee and all these other things. And then you have the way that you're going to market it itself. If you're doing it online, a lot of it's with video or with, sales letters. If you're doing any advertising, it's with the creative. And so any aspect of that falls down. If the creative isn't good, if the sales letter isn't compelling, if the product doesn't hit all of their needs, any of those issues, and you could be in for a really tough situation where you don't make any money. And nobody wants to be in that situation. I've had it happen to me too. I've created products and I thought it was going to be really good. It just didn't work out. And so the better way to go about it, if you really want to take the guesswork out of it, is to find out exactly what your customers want before you go ahead and start creating it. And then as you start to create it, you can solicit more feedback, and then you can go out and make tweaks to the product and everything else. And this is how you do a real product rollout or a real service rollout in a big way and have confidence that instead of being terrified the night before or the minute before you flip the switch with your new idea, you can be excited. You can know with almost 100% certainty that it's going to absolutely crush it. And that's the situation that I'm in now. The majority of the products that I launch now, I already know they're going to be successful. But it isn't because of any magic, and it isn't because I'm such a genius at intuiting what people want. I learned a few things along the way, through taking my lumps and through the good and the bad. And one of the secrets that I picked up along the way is it's a great idea, instead of trying to guess what your customers and prospects want, to survey them. Give your customers and prospects simple surveys and ask them specific questions relating to the products that you want to launch. Now, when you start to do this in the beginning, it's a little difficult, and you start to feel like, how do I really write the questions? It is a challenge, and it takes a little bit of experience to get good at this, because you don't want to pigeonhole people with answers that are so tight that you get the answer you're looking for. In other words, you want to make sure that the survey that you're doing is open-ended enough that it allows for people to answer in ways that maybe you didn't anticipate, or, in worst case scenario, you didn't hope that they would. But you have to allow them to be honest and be able to give you the information. Otherwise, all of that information is useless. All you're doing is reassuring yourself that your failed idea is going to work, only to find out that it fails. So, some general rules of thumb of how you can do this. You can get online surveys and you can create simple questions. And my recommendation is, because when you start doing this, it gets really exciting. And then you want to start asking like 150 questions, because the more you learn about your market and the more you learn about your prospects, the more you want to know. But as you might expect, the more questions that you ask, the fewer responses you're going to get, the fewer completed surveys you're going to get. So a few general rules of thumb. If this survey is important to you, it shouldn't be a problem to put a little bit of skin in the game. So you may want to give away some Amazon gift cards. You may want to give away some, free product or service or consultation or whatever with your business. But my recommendation is that you give something away as a prize, and you don't have to give it to every person who does it. You say, we're going to do a random drawing. We're going to give away, 5, $50 Amazon gift certificates or whatever. The idea that there is a prize and a bonus is enough incentive for most people to do it. It isn't even the idea of how much it is. You might think, well, who would bother for $50? But you'd be surprised. A lot of people love the idea of being able to win something. So you can incentivize them with something. Now, if you have a large customer base and they're loyal to you, then you may even just be able to send it out without even incentivizing them. But it's always a good idea, especially on your first one, to offer a little bit of an incentive in some way or another. And then you want to, for the most part, stick to either short answer or multiple choice or rating scale type questions. The more questions you have that are paragraph writing questions where they have to fill in a full answer, the less likely you're going to get people to fill that out, because it looks like too much work. So you want to make the survey something that they can finish, 5 minutes maximum, usually 1 to 2 minutes. And you can do that by asking a lot of multiple choice questions, and you can do that by offering rating scales. You could even do things like, of these different factors of a product or service, what do you value the most? The guarantee period, the price, what's most important in terms of your buying decision. And if you're not even sure in terms of what type of product to offer, you can get very specific with the survey. So if you are totally in the dark about your market, which I hope you're not, but if you are, you might want to even start with just a general market research type survey where you're asking people about their demographics, whether they're married, their age group, their income bracket, not specific numbers, but you want to know whether they're a homeowner or a renter, their average income level, average education, these kinds of things, because it's going to clue you in to some of the demographics, and that's going to help you pinpoint and target your audience. Now, if you already know that stuff, then you're one step ahead, and then you can start to get a little bit more granular and a little bit more specific about it. And in that case, what you want to do is you want to start asking specific questions. So if you were thinking of offering, a new software tool, or you were going to create a new, product or service offering, and whether you have ideas for it or not, my recommendation is you keep that very open-ended. So you want to ask them if, which of these ideas or products or services would they be most interested in. List the ones on the list that you're thinking of creating or offering, but at the same time, leave room for a fill in the blank for something different, and ask something outside of the ones that you already have listed there. Because again, you don't want, if the 3 things that you may offer, they may choose one over the other 2. They might not really be interested in any of them. So you always want to do then a follow-up. Not only what are they interested in, but then also on a scale of 1 to 10. How valuable is this product to you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you be, how much would you feel you needed to buy it? Would it be, I might buy it, I'd consider buy it, I want to buy it, or I gotta have it, or I don't want it at all. And give them all of the extremes, because you're looking for people that are going to be emotionally invested in wanting to get this product. If they're kind of lukewarm, even if most of them say, oh, I'd likely buy it, that might not be strong enough. You want to get at least a segment of them saying, I gotta have it. Because if they're saying that about your product, the likelihood of it selling is really good. And then what I recommend is, after you've sort of figured that out, any other terms or services, or you can feel people out for price this way too, by saying, what do you think is a fair price for this type of a product? Is it, $297, $97? Ask for prices way below and way above what you expect to actually charge. And you want to give them 5 to 6 choices. Don't give them 150 choices. It's too many choices. Put a couple questions at most on one page and create a multi-page survey. Again, if they see that they have to scroll down for 15 minutes to get to the end, they're not going to finish it. If you put 1 or 2 on the page and then they click next, they'll just go through it. And even if you have 4 or 5 pages. So I would recommend you keep it to no more than 10 to 12 questions, and the majority of them sort of multiple choice. But you can gather a lot of information this way, and you can also do follow-ups after that. Now, the second half of this is, once you've identified it and you've started to create the product, I highly recommend that you get a focus group of either your loyal customers or people that are willing to be beta testers for you. And you only give it to a small portion of people, but you want enough, and they have to be willing to meet you halfway. In other words, you're not just going to give them the product or service. The commitment is, I give it to you for free, and you provide me with feedback. I need either a 3-minute video review of it, or I need you to answer, these 15 questions on a written thing. You give them a few choices of the way that they can provide you feedback. This is a great way to collect testimonials about your product from anybody who loves it. It's also a great way to identify any potential problems with your product before you go live. Because if you have 7 people and you have 10 in your focus group and 7 of them are telling you, well, it really needs a delete feature, or it needs an undo, or, I'd love it if they gave me a hot towel with that, or, whatever it is, now you've got that additional piece of the puzzle that before you go live with it, you can incorporate that too. And now you're going to have a home run, especially if you're capturing some of those testimonials, you're building goodwill with those customers. This is how you engage with your market, engage with your audience, and get to a level where every single product and service that you're offering, is going to be a home run before you go to the table and launch it. And when you do that, you are going to be, light years ahead of the competition, and you're never going to need to worry about competitors or making money or paying bills or any of those other things again. So take that to heart. It takes a little bit of extra work, but it's well worth it in the long run, because it's better to make some changes up front than to go through all of that whole cycle only to find out that you have a dud on your hands. As always, if you have any questions or comments, share them with me at leverageshow.com. And until next time, make it happen.